Hello and welcome back to Pedagogically Speaking. My name is Alana Huffer. I'm an inclusive education teacher, and this podcast is my way of giving back to the teaching community and quite frankly creating a community. That's definitely why I started this because collab time, there's so many things that have been cut um from our days, and I just wanted to take this time to invite you to listen to me and to people that I have on the podcast and invite you to email me at pedagogicallyspeakingpod@gmail.com. I love getting your emails. I love your comments and your feedback. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I just really am hoping to build a community for all of us. And so I know we were so lucky to have Morgan Michael on the show to talk about burnout. And I wanted to just revisit burnout, especially because it's a beautiful sunny day. I'm not going to lie. I'm really happy. Yesterday was, oh no, actually, it was raining this morning. That's right. I was going to bike to work and I didn't. And I got a lift and then a lift back. But the sunshine is out now and I'm very grateful and I'm right by a window. But burnout right now, it's the end of term two almost, or a week and a half left. But the biggest thing I think right now is report cards are looming, like were they due for you today or are they due tomorrow? Or maybe in your high school and you had done them already in February or at the end of January. Um, but for us elementary and middle school teachers right now in BC, we're writing report cards, trying to get them in on time, including everything, making sure we're commenting on the IEPs, all of that stuff. And I think it's a really stressful time right now, especially in such a short term, right? Like this is just week 9 of term 2, and next week's the end of the term. But I think also as we get closer and closer to the break, students are becoming more and more dysregulated. They understand that the break is coming, which means that all of their routines are out the window, or maybe, they rely on the breakfast program or the lunch program or snacks. And so there's a lot of dysregulation that happens at this time. They know that some of their preferred people are not going to be around for 2 weeks. And so, yeah, it definitely causes like stress and chaos, and there's a lot happening. And so, if you're finding that this is happening to you, if you're maybe feeling a bit burnt out and you're like me, and you're like, this is only a 10-week term, why am I so burnt out? Like, I have been so sick. I talked about how my daughter, after 7 weeks of school, had missed 3 of them because she's been so sick. Like, it's been a lot. And yeah, so just like that reminder that, burnout, it's not weakness. It really is just a systems problem. And like, how are we surviving teaching like without losing ourselves? If you've thought even once this week, I can't keep doing this. If you've stared at your report card comments longer than your students stare at their independent work, if you're exhausted, but you're also wired, like I'm sure my manic energy is coming out right now, you're snappy, but you're feeling guilty. You're showing up, but you're barely showing up. It's not because you're weak. It's not because you aren't cut out for teaching. And it's not because you need better time management. Like, not at all. Do not blame yourself. It's really just because the system, that we're all a part of, it runs on invisible labor. And, you're bleeding energy from places that no one sees. So today I wanted to really discuss burnout in that respect, and really like this episode isn't going to be about bubble baths or self-care Sundays. You know, I'm not going to tell you to drink more water, but you should be hydrated. But like I really want to just talk about the systems, because burnout, it's not a character flaw. It doesn't just happen to those people who can't hack it. It is absolutely a design flaw, a design in the systems that we're living in and experiencing and working in. And if I just really want to name it, because I don't want this to be internalized. Okay. So let's name it. It is burnout, and it is a systems failure. So first I want to start off with the kind of quiet resentment phase, which was for me earlier in the term, because burnout rarely starts as something that's dramatic, right? It's very quiet when it comes like at your door, and it invites itself in. You know, we can feel that we're starting to get burnt out when we're getting irritated by the small things. And maybe you're getting irritated at the small things at school or in your classroom. Maybe you're actually holding it together, like there's a lot of talk about like people can mask. And so maybe you're holding it all together at school, but then little things are you're getting snippier with the people that you live with, or you're getting snippier on your commute, and you're find you don't have the same tolerance for people cutting you off or running red lights. Those are terrible examples, but you know what I mean? Like sometimes we can just look at something and say that's unsafe or that's unfortunate or whatever, and then sometimes it can just drive us to be like, why is this happening? Um maybe you live somewhere and there's only 2 bridges to get off of where you live, and one of those bridges is under construction, and it's getting harder and harder to leave, and that's making you snippy as well, like, you're finding that that's when you're sniffiest. So, yeah, like, does a student that asks a normal question, does it feel like it's too much? Or does a staff email make your eye twitch? I actually was talking about something about an email earlier today and my eyes started twitching. I was like, oh, the eye twitch is coming up. You stop volunteering for things, which I think is actually like it is a good sign that you're getting burnt out, but it also is very good that you're like, I setting a boundary, right? Or I think one of the biggest ones too, especially in education, when we're filling out, we stop offering ideas, right? Like we don't have that capacity anymore. And then it's kind of followed by you stop caring a little. And then unfortunately, that's followed by feeling guilty. So, feeling guilty for not caring. And that is the quiet resentment phase. It sounds like, why am I the only one doing this? Why does this always fall on me? Why do I have to manage everything? Resentment, it's not actually pettiness. It's just an unacknowledged overload. You are overworked, you are overwhelmed, it's overloading you. And that's what happens when those expectations increase, but the support doesn't. So, like, where am I at the end of term two? Where are you at the end of term two? Like, carrying behavior data and report cards and parent emails and dysregulated students and dysregulated coworkers and dysregulated other adults in your life and your own life, and your nervous system is cooked. Burnout, it doesn't mean that you hate teaching, it doesn't mean you're a bad teacher, it doesn't mean any of those things. It means that your output, what you're putting out into the world, what you're putting out as a teacher and a colleague, it has exceeded your capacity for too long. For too long. Just to recap, kind of like understanding what burnout is, especially at the end of term two, when we've got report cards, when everyone's dysregulated, the adults, the students, and understanding that burnout starts slow or it starts really in a way that it doesn't feel like it is burnout. You're becoming snippier and you have less patience, and all of a sudden, you're not volunteering for things and you're not able to kind of share your ideas in a meeting, but you're not in the meeting really. And I think it's really important to just kind of understand that that doesn't make us bad teachers, understand that we're expected to do, like, this is the thing I think that really drives me wild is that the day is the same, right? So September, October, November, we're not writing report cards and we're doing all the things and we're already talking about burnout. Like this is the second episode in 13 episodes that talks about burnout. But then we get to report card season and a short term, and it's like we have the exact same everything, all of the expectations on us are the same. We are running classes, doing lessons, collecting data, assessments, everything. And then you add on top of that report cards, commenting on IEPs, um, different things like that. Where are you supposed to find the time? Where's the support for the fact that now the workload is increased? And fair enough, maybe it's only increased for 2 weeks, but the workload has increased. And where is that support? Has your principal canceled the staff meeting because they understand that you're writing report cards? Has that happened? Has there been any kind of support in that? And I think that is really telling of, yeah, if you're burning out and you're thinking, well, writing report cards is like what teachers do. Yeah, okay. And we have to do it on top of all of our regular duties without getting any support. What does the support work look like? I don't know. Like I said, is it canceled staff meetings? Is it uh collaborative teaching so that, one person's got the group and maybe you can go write some report cards? Like there's so many different ways that support can look like, and I'm not going to go into all of them because I'm not here to solve that problem. And I'm here to just say it is a lot to do. And I hope you hear that it is a lot to do, and I hope you're not blaming yourself. So, you know, we've discussed decision fatigue and invisible labor, but I think what no one prepares teachers for is that teaching is 1,000 micro decisions a day, you know, or in an hour. People don't know where their jackets are. And I'm talking middle school. I'm sure high school teachers have this too. But students don't know where their pencils are, their notebooks, all of the stuff, their planners, everything. Why is my shoe wet? Where's the bathroom? Like all of these things, and you're constantly the one who answers, right? You're the person who's answering. And so, you're looking at students and you're thinking, is that a behavior thing? Do I need to intervene? Do I need to redirect? Am I emailing home? Am I letting it go? Am I extending the time to complete this project? Am I modifying this? Oh, does this student need me to push? Or does this student need me to pull back and take away some of the expectations? And I just think by the time lunch rolls around, I'm done. I don't know about you, I'm done. I'm usually, quite frankly, my body feels done by morning break, and I eat my lunch at like 10 o'clock. And then by lunchtime, I'm not hungry, but I'm just done. I was sitting in my room the other day and I was just like sitting like this, and someone walks in and they're like, "Oh, I didn't realize you were here. I thought you were doing this." And I said, "This is what I'm doing. This is why." And I'm like, "Sorry that you had to walk in." And I was just like just brain dead. And they're like, "When I walked in, you were typing." And I didn't even realize I had been like typing something down. Like, I'm just so done. And I'm sure you are too. And then you still have the afternoon. And then you go home and you have to write thoughtful, individualized report card comments. And, the invisible labor really includes the emotional regulation, the anticipation of problems, right? We talked a lot about executive functioning and how we need, ready do dones. That's a lot of work, but like having the expectations of like when you walk in, you need to have your pencil, your water bottle, and this and your paper on your desk. That's what ready looks like, and this is what we're working on here. Like here's the visual of what it needs to look like, and all of that stuff. So you're anticipating all those problems. Everyone's stressed out, so you're also smoothing a lot of parent dynamics, parent to parent, or parent with a student that you have. You're socially mentoring kids because they're completely dysregulated because the break is coming up. So you're mentoring them, you're planning for differentiation, and you are on all day. I got to work the other day, and I don't particularly get to work early for a myriad of reasons. I cannot get to work any earlier than I do. And then so like my time in the beginning is really precious. And someone was just like, was talking to me and asked me questions immediately as I walked in. And I hadn't even taken off my bike helmet. And I was like, oh, this is not going to go well. And I really am trying to like be positive, but it is just like, I have to be on once the students are there. Like I need until 8:44 to just be me and just like not have to answer questions. So yeah, I just find that really difficult, and that is part of that invisible labor too. We have to give our colleagues our time as well, or we have to understand that sometimes there's an emergency meeting before school, and that can really disrupt our time to like get things ready. And it means that you're on a lot earlier than you had planned on it, right? Because teachers, like, we're not just delivering curriculum, you know, you're not just delivering curriculum, you are absorbing the chaos and you're taking it in and you are redistributing calm. And that is energy intensive work to take in all of it and then to make sure that you've got calm and you're helping to co-regulate those students even without them knowing about it, right? And when there are no structural boundaries around it, it absolutely consumes you and eats away at you. So, yeah, it's hard because we do want connection and it's a very intense time of the term. And we need to have some boundaries too to protect ourselves because it is exhausting, you know. And I really don't think comparing yourself or your profession to another profession is healthy or good. And I would also say, though, that we don't even get to go to the bathroom when we need to. And I'm very lucky that when I was pregnant, I had a bathroom in my room, and that was just a fluke. And I was very happy. And I said this should be the to maternity teachers um classroom because yeah. And so I think that adds another layer of stress as well. I know today was super rainy and the whole place smelled. And I had a parent come up to me and they were like, was someone sick in the hallway? Like it smells like someone was sick. And I was like, no, it's just the hallway smell during a rainy day. So I'd like to kind of get into the minimum viable teacher framework, which is like, let's reframe some things. So if someone's like, do more better, it's kind of like, no, no, no. I'm going to do less on purpose. I'm not taking anything extra on right now. I am regulating myself. I am regulating the students. I'm here for my colleagues, but I will not do more better. I will do less on purpose. Okay? The minimum viable teacher asks, what is absolutely required for student safety, student learning, professional responsibility, and then everything else is negotiable. Okay? Right now, at the end of the term, your job is not to be the Pinterest teacher. Okay? It is to be steady. And the minimum viable teacher means it's one solid lesson. Okay? It's not 5 cute extensions. I did this today. I was like, I'm a very good numeracy teacher, but I love literacy. And so I was like, teaching to my strengths. So we did a math lesson, of course, because this teacher that I work with has a really cool way of doing two, or actually 3-digit too, but we're doing 2-digit by 2-digit multiplication with the blocks. I'm sure you do this as well. And so that was a fun lesson and I appreciated it. But then we did a writing lesson where we talked about, looked at, and wrote simple, compound, and complex sentences. And so that was the thing. And then we are off. And then in the afternoon, we did we did a story. And it was cool because I was like, okay, so what did we discuss? And why can't all of our sentences be simple? And what does it mean? And da. So we had like a whole class discussion and then we went into the writing. And that's great. It was my one solid lesson of the day. And I wasn't trying to do anything cute and I wasn't trying to do anything that was going to be too hard. I wanted to make sure that it was successful for the students and successful for me. So Yes, the minimum viable teacher, one solid lesson. Also, clear routines. Okay, we're not doing creative chaos. Clear routines. I front loaded them with how I expected transitions to go, and we were off. I had to redirect one person um, because you can't hide behind a door. That's not safe. Um, so yeah, another really important thing right now is that feedback needs to be sufficient and not poetic. Just be succinct. And something that I know a lot of you are struggling with, like, do not struggle with this. Office hours for emails. Okay. No one should be able to reach you 24/7 unless they're your partner, children, whoever it is. No one from work, no students' parents should be able to have 24/7 access to you, okay? Office hours are for emails. Not having an aesthetic room, I like a clean room, and whatever clean means to you. Like, I have a messy table. I don't mind, or like, I don't mind things that we all know what clean to us means. So clean to you, okay? And I also think one of the things I like to think of as I'm like preparing my lessons or my unit plans, especially for the end of the term, is if I were 20% more tired than I am now, what would I cut? And then I cut it. Okay. You are allowed to be an absolutely sustainable teacher. In fact, I need you to be a sustainable teacher. Okay. You are not letting anyone down. You are being, you are taking care of yourself. You are setting boundaries. You understand that this time right now is we are getting to the finish line. Strong lessons, clean room, nothing extravagant. Okay. I want you to be a sustainable teacher and not spectacularly exhausted. Okay, so just to recap, a minimum viable teacher has one solid lesson, not five cute extensions, has clear routines, feedback that is sufficient and succinct, office hours for emails, not all the time, and just go for clean. You don't need to go for the cutest room in the school, I promise you. Okay? Make sure you're cutting anything that you think that you, when you look at it, you think, if I was 20% more tired, what would I cut? And cut the thing. Okay? I do not want you to be exhausted. I do not want you to get sick before or like at the beginning of the spring break. Please don't do that. So I think that really brings us to the protecting our weekends without feeling guilty about it. Okay? Because here's the truth. This system, this machine that we are a part of, it will take as much of you as you let it. Okay? Because there's no finish line. There's no one that at the end of it is going to say, wow, you've done enough. Okay? So you have to create the boundary. You have to know when enough is. And if you don't, and you've hit that, you need to take 10 steps back. And that's actually where your enough is. Okay? Do not let people guilt you into doing a club if you do not have the time. Do not let people guilt you into things. Or even, and do not, if someone says, well, why can't you do that? You don't have whatever. You don't have to justify. No is an answer. Okay? No is an answer. So create that boundary. Okay? Your weekend protection rules: no school email notifications on your phone. You, if you need to, can have a designated planning block, but cap it at a reasonable amount of time and set a timer. Okay? 3, please use the report card comment bank. Okay? Reuse, refine, but you don't need to reinvent because you can absolutely personalize things with comments that you've already used. Okay? Sent is better than perfect. And you know what? This is going to be hard for a lot of you. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be hard for you. But leave one thing undone on purpose. Why? Because perfection is a moving target. Completion is protective. You are not a better teacher because you sacrificed Sunday. You are not a better teacher for going into the classroom on the weekend, okay? But you might just end up more tired on Monday. This brings me to when you're wondering if you should quit, which I know is controversial. So let's say the quiet thing out loud. Sometimes burnout makes you question the entire career, makes you question the life's choices that brought you to teaching. And before you make that decision, I need you to ask yourself, am I burned out on teaching or am I burned out on the conditions? Because those are very different problems. And as much as we all need to understand when we're burnt out and the path that leads us to burnout and how to set those boundaries so we don't burn out. Another thing that we also need to remember is that burnout distorts thinking. Burnout tells us you're bad at this. Burnout tells us you can't handle it. You don't have what it takes. You're not that person over there. You're not strong enough. But really, the truth is, I'm going to cry a little bit. You've been strong for too long without reinforcement. You've been strong for too long without support. If you can reduce the output, if you can tighten up the structure, tighten up those transitions, if you can ask for one form of help, protect one boundary, and then your nervous system starts to recover, well, then it was never you. It was the load. And you deserve to make career decisions from clarity and not from exhaustion. If burnout was a personal problem, then it wouldn't be so prolific for teachers. It can be really hard on our mental health to be in burnout and have that distorted thinking that I'm not as good as the person down the hall. My students are too loud. I'm not getting this done right. Everyone else is having an easier time than me. But that's not actually true. That's the burnout talking. Find out, change one thing, see if it gets better. Okay, I'm rooting for you. You've got this. So, that was a bit heavy. In closing, if this episode feels like someone finally said what you've been thinking, then I think that's really good. This is not necessarily where I thought this episode was going to go. I didn't expect it to like really get intense at the end. I just kind of wanted to make an episode about how I'm feeling and like the arc of this term for myself. You know, like I started off thinking this term is going to be great. And then after the first week, I was like, we're in the single digits already. And then it's been the hardest term. I don't know if it's been the hardest term I ever have had in 16 years. It feels like it. It certainly is harder than term one, and it was 6 weeks shorter. So that's got to tell you something. And I know it's not just me because I know my colleagues are feeling that as well. And I know you are feeling that with the emails that you've sent in. Thank you for sending in those emails. So I just I just really want you to know that you're not weak. You're absolutely overloaded, and overloaded systems require redesign, not shame. So take a breath, finish the report cards in any way that you can. Colleague of mine buys a puzzle, no, Lego, Lego. And then I guess, okay, I don't do Lego, so bear with me. But I guess when you have Lego, you have different bags of Lego in it. So they set a number of report cards at a time. And then when that's done, they go do one of the Lego things for the thing. I'm really bad at that. And then they finish it and they go, they do report cards. Da, da, da. I used to put like a one of those big Kit Kat bars over on the my counter, and I'd be on the couch and I'd write, and then I get to a point, or actually, I either got to a point or I just wanted some Kit Kat. I'd get up and get Kit Kat and come back to the table, to the couch, and finish writing. So, however it is works for you to finish report cards, close the laptop and remember you are allowed to survive this job. You are allowed to stay whole inside it. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. If you like the episode, please give me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Please give me a 5-star review on Spotify. And as always, you can reach me at pedagogicallyspeakingpod@gmail.com. Let me know what you would like to hear for future episodes. Thanks so much. I hope you have a great end of your term. I hope that you survive, and I hope that you're able to set a boundary or do something to save yourself from burnout or exhaustion. See you next week.